Kickin Badgers by Melanie Risdon. As I rolled over, the sound of the rooster lifted me into consciousness. The smell of breakfast slowly drifted into my nose, and I breathed it in, smiling. As I sat up, I felt the warm air hit my cheeks, and I knew it was going to be another hot summer day on the farm. We often spent many of our summer days on Grandma and Grandpa Rocky's farm just outside our little town of Strathmore. There we helped feed the chickens, threw sticks to the dog, wandered through the open fields that roasted in the hot Alberta sun, and found adventure at every turn in the barns and haystacks. Grandpa Rocky loved having the company along as he drove through the fields in the wee hours of the morning feeding the livestock. And I loved the feeling of sitting next to him in his old Ford truck, bouncing along the bumpy terrain with the smell of hay and cows all around us. As we were nearing where some of the cattle were grazing, the truck suddenly dipped low on my side, then sent me nearly to the roof. "Those darn badgers, digging up my fields!" he yelled, banging his hand on the steering wheel. "One of them darn cows are going to break a leg in one of them holes." We set about cutting the bales of hay in the back of the truck and tossed it to the cows that seemed hungry, but you wouldn't know it by their slow and uninterested wander to their breakfast. "We're shooting badgers today," he threw out in between slicing the twine holding the bales together. That sounded like just about the coolest and most exciting thing I'd ever gotten up to on the farm. In fact, in all my 8 years, I'd never seen Grandpa Rocky with a gun. After we finished with the morning chores, Rocky went inside and within a minute was out with a rifle in one hand and a box in the other. "Get in the truck," he instructed. "You can help me, but them badgers are dangerous. One of those things could plain eat you up," he said as my eyes began to grow wide. He parked in the ditch just down from the entrance to the farm. I'd never seen an animal killed. The closest thing to death I'd seen was a few gophers squished in the middle of the dusty country roads. I could barely come to make myself look at the mangled piles of blood and fur, but this was going to be different. I wasn't sure how I'd feel after watching Grandpa Rocky shoot a badger. Would it be loud? Would the badger explode like on Looney Tunes? What would it smell like? Before I had time to imagine up the answers to my questions, my ears rang with the deafening crack of his rifle. And before I could recoil to see what he had done, he rattled around with the gun and another crack hit my ears. "Got him!" he shouted. As the sounds of the prairies slowly began to drift back into my ears, I looked ahead of us, and there it was. A large mass of grayish-black fur in a lump in front of the hole. My nose burned with the smell of what the gun gave off, metal mixed with a strange burnt odor that I'd never smelled before. "Go and kick it in the hole," he instructed. I looked at him trying to decipher if he was actually talking to me while knowing full well I was the only one there for him to instruct. I'm not sure. I don't know how," I stammered. "Oh, you're gonna be fine. Just go out there and kick her in the hole." I slowly made my way the 100 feet or so out to the hole where the mass, now a bit bloody, lay amongst the dust and shards of wheat. I hesitated for a moment, then slid my sneaker toward the mass and quickly nudged it. There was no response from the creature, but I did get a glimpse of its long claws. Badgers are about the size of a medium-large dog. So honestly, as I stood over the motionless lump of fur, I couldn't help but think, that doesn't look as tough as Grandpa said. I steadied myself as I stepped forward again to give it a stronger nudge into the hole it had died in front of. "Get down!" Grandpa Rocky shouted, and I froze. Why would he need me to get down? I thought to myself, until I looked dead ahead of me. About 50 or so feet ahead of me was a very fast and very tough-looking badger heading my way at lightning speed. I turned to my grandpa, who now seemingly had the rifle aimed at me, and it was then that I realized I was standing between him and the animal that was on its way to make lunch out of me. Knowing it was the only way Grandpa Rocky would get a sure shot, I hit the ground, my face a mere few inches from the dead carcass of what was likely a relative of the one now fixed on me. Crack! I heard as I prayed for both Grandpa Rocky not to hit me and for him to hit the approaching badger before it reached me. I looked up to see it still racing for me, likely only about 10 feet away now. Crack! Went the rifle again, and there, right in front of me, the badger stopped right in its tracks and somewhat exploded before my eyes. I laid there a while, as life seemed to slow down for a brief moment. I saw the dust rise slowly where the creature fell, and waited to see if I was going to cry or jump up and run, or just continue to lay there, helpless and covered in the prairie dust and dirt. I didn't move for quite some time, until I could hear a faint voice in the distance. It came closer and closer, and I began to make out the words. "Are you all right? Melanie, are you okay?" Rocky always called me Mel, except for serious situations, and I reckon this was as serious as any. He easily pulled me up out of the dust and spun me around to face him. "Are you okay, Mel?" he said in a softer tone, recognizing that I might have been in a bit of shock. I looked at the 2 bloody carcasses, one at my feet, the other a mere few feet away, then looked Grandpa Rocky square in the eyes and said, "I don't think I want to help you shoot badgers anymore." He laughed, pulled me close with his strong arms, looked up and thanked God, then said, "Nope, no more kickin' badgers for you."